welcome back to Crypto Saving Experts, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday, so please make sure if you are new here to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button. We've got a lot of news to be discussing today. We're going to be taking a look at what trend has broken with these Bitcoin ETFs. We'll be taking a deep dive into the Ethereum ETFs and see why some analysts actually think it's quite likely now. And we're going to take a look at what's happened with Ethereum with the Denkin upgrade. Has it been as successful as we originally thought? And what's Elon Musk got to say to Vitalik? All of that is in today's news, so please make sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Peter Dell, thank you very much for tuning in as always. Thanks for watching the adverts. That helps with the stream if you don't press skip. It helps us make a little bit of money off the streams here. What else have we got here? Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Bikeman. Good morning, James and Rob and Christian. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, we do very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at what's going on with the Bitcoin and the Ethereum price here, because they've both been moving up pretty nicely, both between 5.6 and 5.9% within the last 24 hours, which is absolutely brilliant to see. And we can see within the last week they've both been performing pretty closely at between around 11 and 11.5%. Now, this was something that I've been interested to look at. Oh, actually, I don't want to go into the Ethereum Bitcoin chart yet because we've got some Bitcoin analysis to do. Let's stay tuned there. Let's quickly take a look at some altcoins before we get into that. So we are saying here that in terms of biggest gainers, we've got some really nice movements from some top altcoins here. BitDAO up almost 15%, Binary X up over 15%, and we've got some coins that have not performed so well and haven't had any kind of pump off the back of this move to the upside for those high cap coins. We've got Monero down slightly, we've got Quant down slightly and Ton down slightly, unfortunately, but nothing too considerable there in the high cap coins. It's just a shame that they haven't managed to have a move to the upside off the back of the rest of the markets pumping. If we take a look down this list, you can see why I've got a big smile on my face this morning, and that's because Chainlink is up over 17% within the last week. Chainlink is a token which I am a huge fan of, so it's nice to see a considerable move to the upside there. It has been considerably volatile, I would say, though, and we have seen some considerable pullbacks along the way. I don't know how many more times I can say considerable in the same sentence. Let's take a look at what else is here. Bitcoin Cash is up nicely, 31%. Let me search this. Bitcoin Cash halving dates. So Bitcoin Cash halving has been, will be on the 2nd of April expectedly, and that's why we're seeing some momentum and excitement around that project once again. It does hold quite a high market cap. It is at 20, and it does manage to sustain those higher levels in terms of market cap, but we are seeing some excitement there off the back of that news. If we take a look at what's going on with the Bitcoin chart, though, I have some interesting analysis to share here today. And throughout this dump, we've been looking at the markets and we've been saying we are dumping right now and we are ahead of the Bitcoin halving, but is this the pre-halving market dump, or is it the pre-halving market dump? And this is one of the theses that I've had for the last couple of weeks, and that's that this dump was slightly too early for it to be in line with a pre-halving dump. Now, if we break above this level of resistance that we've built at $73,800, it could be that we could see a considerable move to the upside before we get into that 2-week window prior to the halving, where we typically see a pre-halving dump. So let's discuss this in a little bit more detail. If we go on to TradingView and we take a look at Bitcoin indicators, Bitcoin halving in the indicators panel, let's try and spell halving right, and then we could be off to a good start, couldn't we? If we take a look at this, I think we're best to go on to dark mode here. If we take a look at what's happened in previous cycles, you can see if we go to BTC USD, we'll get there in the end. You can see that on the second halving, we did have a dump around the halving. Now, the halving is a bullish event in the long term because it's when we're seeing the inflation rate for Bitcoin be cut in half. But historically, it has been a short-term bearish event. So if we take a look at what's happened here, you can see that just a couple of weeks before the second halving, we saw a significant dump, and that was from around 21 days prior to the halving, and that was a 30% dump. So that's 21 days there. We then started to pump again, and then we saw a 20% pump, a 15% pump at around this time here. So around 7 days prior to the halving. So looking at between 3 weeks and 1 week there for those jumps that we were seeing. Now, if we take a look at what happened on the third halving here, you can see that we were performing pretty well despite that kind of March crash that we saw across the globe until around a week before, 4 days before the halving, and then we saw a 20% pullback. So we can actually see a pre-halving pullback considerably close to the Bitcoin halving. So I feel like considerably is my word of the day today. I keep saying it. If we take a look at this, you can see that the halving is predicted to be on the 23rd of April. So let's put this in here. And we have had started this drop that we have just experienced 40 days prior. Now that seems incredibly early. Now, this runs into two kind of storylines here, and it could be that this is not the pre-halving dump and we continue to move to the upside. Now we see some more strong moves to the upside before we see a dump maybe a week or maybe two prior to that halving in around maybe like the 9th or 10th of April. Or it could be that everything shifted to the left, as a lot of people are saying. We've seen a lot of excitement enter the markets quicker than expected off the back of these Bitcoin ETFs. And we've seen everything shift to the left in the sense that we've seen an all-time high prior to the halving. So because everybody is anticipating these events, maybe we are going to see this squash together a little bit, and maybe we are going to see everything shift to the left slightly. Maybe we are going to be hit with things earlier than expected, and this is a thesis that I'm starting to warm up to in a sense, because we saw an all-time high pre-halving. We've seen a lot of excitement enter the space already. We've seen institutional investment, and I believe we have seen just the beginning of that. Now, a lot of people know by now that Bitcoin halving is a short-term bearish event. It does make sense to me that we are able to look at these previous cycles, we are able to anticipate that, and for it to come a little bit earlier than expected is maybe the new norm, because what's happening is people are saying, look, a bearish event's about to hit, I'm going to start taking some profits, and that's made it come early. And this would go into the thesis that everything's to the left and everything's condensed. It's going to be shorter, but it's going to be more rapid, and it's going to be earlier than expected. And I am starting to warm up to that thesis there. So what we're seeing here is, for me, there's three real scenarios here to play. First one being that this isn't the pre-halving dump, and we see some nice movements to the upside before we get another dump in 2 or 3 weeks' time. The second one being that, look, we have seen this earlier than expected, just like we've seen the all-time high earlier than expected. Bitcoin is trying to take us all by surprise, and it takes the path of most pain. And right here, right now, we've had a pre-halving dump, and maybe this is it. Maybe that's all we needed to get. People have taken their profits, they've seen that bearish period, and now we're moving on. Third scenario is, look, this is just a small retracement in the pullback, and we're heading to lower prices. Which one do I favor the most? This is the difficulty here, and I am starting to feel like we could be moving up to higher prices. If we manage to break through the all-time high within this week, then I do believe that this could come into the fact that we have shifted to the left, we've condensed it all, and we are moving on to higher prices, and this is the pre-halving dump just earlier, a couple of weeks earlier than expected. It would start to make sense with that Bitcoin halving being earlier than expected, and we could start to really build a strong picture of what's coming in the next couple of months if that is the case. So we will have to stay tuned on this, see how this plays out, but it's really interesting how this is acting right now. We will have to stay tuned. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's take a look at what's going on in the live chat right now. James says BTC ETH is not good at the moment. Let's take a look at that. So ETH BTC, this chart goes down when Ethereum is being outperformed by Bitcoin, and goes up when when Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin. Now, right now, you can see it is not good at all. We have seen Ethereum being outperformed by Bitcoin massively. This is an indication to me that altcoin season has not yet started, and we can see that as clear as day when we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart as well. Bitcoin dominance is holding incredibly high. If we take a look at what happened in the previous cycle, just a couple of months before the Bitcoin halving, in fact, a considerable amount of months before the Bitcoin halving, this chart started to go on a downtrend. 475 days before the Bitcoin halving, the Bitcoin dominance started to go on a downtrend in the last cycle. So this means that altcoins and Ethereum are taking some of that market share. We have not seen that this time around, so we are getting closer and closer to the Bitcoin halving, and Bitcoin's dominance is holding. And I believe this is off the back of those Bitcoin ETFs, drawing in all of that investment and that interest. So we have not yet seen the money flow into the high caps, the mid caps, and the low caps as much as we have expected. That does not mean it's not to come, and I do believe that we could see some really nice altcoin movements within the next couple of months. And my reason for that belief is that in a market cycle, typically Bitcoin performs well, then high caps, then mid caps, then low caps. And that's not just a pattern that we see. The reason for that movement and that shift around the markets is because Bitcoin has a lot of potential when in a bear market. And we can easily identify that. Every time Bitcoin's been in the bottom of a bear market, it's been able to make a huge amount of gains for investors. And then as time goes on, the returns on the investment seem less beneficial for Bitcoin compared to high cap coins. So people start to rotate their profits from Bitcoin into high cap coins because they have more potential. And then when that potential starts to run out because they've had really nice movements to the upside, then people turn to mid cap coins and then eventually to low cap coins. So it's not just a pattern that we see and we don't know why. It's because the potential return on investment, as people make money, they look for more potential return on investment, and they're no longer going to reap those rewards from the high cap coins because they've already seen considerable growth. So they need to move on to those lower cap coins. And that's why we see that shift. And that's why I do believe we will still see that shift despite having the Bitcoin ETFs here. But let's take a look at what's going on in the channel, in the live chat here. So we are seeing Jason Smith says another field of green with the coins. It definitely is. Rob says Peter Meme Man is in at the house. He is indeed. Peter says, hello Jess, nice to be here again. Just watched 2 ads in full, 2 minutes each, cool ones I must say. Oh, very good. Good day everyone in the chat. That was my best Australian accent. Rob says every hit like and we can hit a new all-time high for Bitcoin during the stream. Exactly, that is exactly how it works. Bitcoin is correlated with the crypto saving expert likes, so make sure to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Rob says, Jess, would you say you're happy with your allocation at the moment? Have you diversified into the narratives you wanted to? See, no. I will be very honest with you here. I'm not shy to say that. No, I am not when it comes to investing, I'll give you a whole picture actually of what's happened in my portfolio. So in the last cycle, I thought I was an incredible trader and investor, highly leveraged, highly exposed, and then the markets crashed and I essentially wiped my wallet dry. There was nothing left. I was extremely over leveraged and it did not work. So since then, I've been very conservative when it comes to risk in the cryptocurrency markets. During the bear market, the only thing I could bring myself to invest into was Bitcoin. And to be honest, that's all I really wanted to invest into at the time, because as I've just said, Bitcoin typically performs well before we see high caps, mid caps, and low caps perform well, and it seems to outperform quite a lot of the high caps as well. For example, if we take a look at Polkadot versus Bitcoin, you can see Polkadot's been outperforming Bitcoin there. If we take a look at Link Bitcoin, you can see they started to outperform Bitcoin a little bit earlier from around June 2023, but on the whole, during a bear market, even the high cap coins that I'm a big fan of are outperformed by Bitcoin. So it makes sense to invest in Bitcoin during a bear market. Then my initial plan was to start moving in and diversifying into some high cap coins. Now, I also will say my portfolio is considerably smaller than every other YouTuber on this platform. So that is why I may be more open and honest with my investment choices and what I'm investing into. But that means that I can't diversify as much as you will hear other people doing so, because I don't want to over diversify with a small portfolio. So with that, I have invested into Bitcoin, and then my plan for January, February, March, Q1 of this year was to diversify a little bit more, move into Ethereum, move into Chainlink, move into Polkadot, and move into some high cap coins that I really think bring utility into the cryptocurrency space and are projects that I can hold on to for the long term. With that, I haven't really diversified as much as I wanted to. I have diversified a little into Ethereum, and as you can tell, it's not my smartest move to date, but it was part of the plan, and I do still believe that we could see some growth here I have a plan and I want to stick to my plan, but there have been some other factors that have come in that have made me feel a little bit uneasy about my plan. And that is because Bitcoin ETFs are here, and we were bullish on Bitcoin ETFs, but I don't think we were bullish enough on Bitcoin ETFs. And with those ETFs, it means that there is a much lower barrier to entry when it comes to investing into Bitcoin than there is for the rest of the cryptocurrency market. So when we're seeing money flow into Bitcoin, I believe that it's hard for the rest of the cryptocurrency markets to gain some of the dominance when it comes to the market share versus Bitcoin. So when we're looking at BTC dominance, this is essentially getting the market cap of the entire cryptocurrency space and looking at what percentage of the money invested into crypto is invested into Bitcoin. Now, typically what we see during this part of the cycle is high cap coins start to perform well and people start to move their money out of Bitcoin into some altcoins, and this dominance starts to drop. The problem here, first of all, is that Bitcoin has this lack of barrier to entry, so more people are investing into Bitcoin. And the second thing is a lot of people are investing through ETFs, so they can't just quickly rotate their money into altcoins and Ethereum because these products don't have ETFs yet. So with this news coming in, I have been a little bit wary that yes, the dominance may be able to stay higher for longer than expected, and maybe the rest of the cryptocurrency space will struggle to outperform Bitcoin for a longer part of the cycle than we've previously seen. And with that in mind, I've found it very hard to diversify, so I'm not 100% happy with my portfolio. I also like to point out on these streams that I am not somebody that likes to diversify massively into low cap coins, stay on top of the trends, invest into meme coins, trade all the time, and stay up to date with what's going on. That's not really my forte. I have specific things that I like to do. I'm not very good at going, look, AI is going to be the next sector. I'm going to find the top 5 AI tokens and I'm going to diversify into them. It's not really my thing, but that's why we have Spud on the channel as well. He does these live streams occasionally and he interviews different people on the streams. He is incredibly good at finding the next narrative, investing in that narrative, looking for the next up and coming projects. It's amazing to see those kinds of investors, and I get very, very jealous when I see the kinds of returns that are possible with those kinds of investors. But it's just not my forte. I don't like to take on that much a risk when it comes to my portfolio. I like being invested in Bitcoin. I feel uneasy when I'm invested in anything else. And when it comes to a dip, I don't want to be have a portfolio that's going to make me emotional and want to sell during a dip. I want to be in a portfolio where I don't mind what the price is, and I can only really do that with Bitcoin. So with that being said, not happy with my portfolio as a whole. There's still some work to be done. It's very risk averse, but that's how I like it. And as I said, it's very small compared to other YouTubers, but that's where we are. And we all need to grow from somewhere. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Green Bean says, what exchanges are you personally working with? I'm not personally working with any exchange, but we do have some details on Crypto Saving Expert, where you can take a look, where you can learn how to use every single exchange and what benefits are available for those exchange users as well. Rob says, everyone has different goals. Stick with what works for you. 100%. Paul says, hi Jess, have the feeling it's going to be a good week. Me too. I really do hope so. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Peter Dell says, what AI coins continue upside even after the bull run finished, since it is will AI coins continue upside even after the bull run is finished, since it is AI? Well, first of all, the AI tokens are a sector that are pumping and performing really, really well now. We will see a number of sectors that perform well within this bull market if it goes with what's happened in history. Typically, we will see a number of sectors performing really, really well. AI is in its prime right now in terms of the cryptocurrency tokens. It has been for a couple of months. I do believe we will start to see some sort of rotation into another sector. That does not mean that AI tokens will not perform well. It means that relative to another sector, we may see the dominance drop slightly. And I think that's also really important to note when we're talking on these streams about other sectors coming and taking that top spot. It doesn't mean that the first sector's going to see red, red, and red printed on that chart for the next year. What we're looking at in crypto, there's a huge amount of opportunity, and in a bull market, tokens that have no utility, that just do not make sense, can make a huge amount of money. When we're on these streams talking about these tokens, we're talking about what can have the biggest return rather than what's going to do well when something else is not, because you can just have everything pumping in a bull market. It is insane. Hopefully we do see those days come back, but what I'm talking about here is AI tokens have been pumping for a very long time now. The sector has been doing very, very well. I do believe we will start to approach another sector soon, where they will start to take some of that market share and maybe outperform some AI tokens in a sense. In terms of that question of will AI coins continue upside even after the bull run finished, my personal opinion, across the board, not on a single kind. I've just turned the music down, James. I hope that's okay. My personal opinion on what will happen with AI tokens across the board as like a typical standard is that when the bear market hits, the entire crypto space gets wounded. Yes, there may be some AI tokens that can hold some value, but on the whole, a bear market is painful for every single sector in cryptocurrency. Is DeFi dead? I don't think DeFi's dead at all. I think we're just at the beginning. We're looking at big institutions trying to find utilizing the utility of blockchains. And I think there's a lot more to come here. So make sure to stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be an interesting year, and 2025 as well. So make sure to stick in with crypto. I hope the music's okay. I mean, I can't hear it now at all. Let me know if you can hear it. Maybe it's on full volume on my computer. Let's see what else is going on though. Let's move on here. Rob says, I don't know about others in chat, but it's hard to find a target to start taking profit. Wondering what kind of returns someone who entered crypto would now would expect. 1 times, 2 times, 3 times. Honestly, it really depends on your portfolio. If you are somebody that is constantly on the new hot trends, constantly staying up to date with what's going on in the sector and where the narratives are and where the new tokens are, and investing in low cap coins for short periods of time constantly, you may well be able to expect higher returns than somebody that's investing in high cap coins. However, I think it's important as a whole not to put a multiply expectation on your profits. I also did this in the last cycle. I said to myself in the last cycle, once I hit this figure, I'm going to take profits. And I got very close to that figure, and then I lost it all because it all got liquidated. So the lesson I learned there was do not put a specific figure on it. Make sure to take profits in a dollar cost average, like a dollar cost average out as well as dollar cost averaging in. And also, I prefer to look at time frames than I do prefer to look at the dollar value of my portfolio as a whole, because when you're picking a dollar value for your portfolio as a whole, you're essentially just plucking a number out of the sky and saying, I would love for it to hit this price point. Green Bean says, I would suggest to the other comment, do not pick a price target. Too many people do that period. Once it hits all-time highs, start using the ladder system to take profits. Exactly what I was saying. I think it's better not to pick a dollar figure, because a lot of people do this with no kind of responsible reason why, mathematical reason why. I think what's best to do is to start dollar cost averaging out in a time period where you think is right. Not necessarily just saying every Monday at 9 a.m. I'm going to take money out, maybe, but maybe once a week. Oh, the markets are up today, it's time to take a little bit of profit. And that's what I like to do. When I say I'm dollar cost averaging in and dollar cost averaging out, that doesn't mean that I've got a standing order going in every single day. That means that when I'm say that I have $1,000 to invest and I want to invest over the next 10 weeks, then when I find that I come onto these live streams and the charts are looking pretty red overall, I'll choose that day to be my day to invest for that week. And then the next week, if the things are looking green, I'll just kind of hold off. And when we do come on these streams and we see it's been a little bit of a red 24 hours, that's when I'll make my investment for that week. It's not I don't do mine in an automated trading pattern. You can do if you're not full-time crypto. If you don't have all the time in the world to sit and look at these charts like I do, then you can just kind of put standard orders on and buy at a specific time every single week. That is also a brilliant strategy for someone who's not got all the time to focus on this all the time. But essentially, there are many ways you can invest in crypto, and there are also many ways you can invest out. I would like to do the same in reverse, so I will be looking at a set period of time. Originally, I was saying June, July, August as my times to really start to take profits from this market. I will be trading and taking profits along the way way prior to that, but when I'm taking profits prior to what I believe will be around the market top, those profits typically, I like to put them into Bitcoin. So now we're looking at this market. I do think that time frame has changed slightly. I am slightly nervous that it has come a little bit, it will come a little bit sooner than anticipated. So I want to shift that forwards a little bit and maybe do it over a longer period of time. But hopefully by the time we hit the top of the cycle, I will have taken profits into Bitcoin for the most part, so that even if we don't time the top perfectly, I can hold on to that as a long-term play. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Peter Dell says, I look at this way, once portfolio get up 10%, take profits. It's very difficult to say because I don't know what you're invested into. I can't give you financial advice. James says, are you trading back to Fiat or BTC? If it's BTC, just trade the Bitcoin ETH spread. If you are cashing out to Fiat, why? Well, there you go. I like to trade back to Bitcoin until later on in the market, and then I'm going to be starting to look to take profits, probably over a longer time frame than 3 months, maybe 6 months. Oh, sorry, if you are cashing out to Fiat, why? I mean, I want to have something to show for this market at the end of this cycle. I've been full-time crypto for 4 years and I've barely ever taken a profit. I want to make some big gains and I want to take some real profit. I know we always say like Bitcoin forever, and like holding on to Bitcoin forever could be an insane thing to do, but we've got to enjoy our lives along the way at the same time. Let's take a look at what's going on here for the liquidation heat map today. Let's see what we've got here. So we've got some magnets on this chart. One up above us at 72,260, one down below us at 69,400. Both of these are price points where a lot of traders would get liquidated if Bitcoin hits that point. So they do act like magnets for the Bitcoin price. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. We've got 28 days until the Bitcoin halving, but this one says 24. So we've got somewhere in the middle there, I think. What happens here is, Rob says, I won't sell any Bitcoin, but want to buy a boat with alt gains. Well, there you go. Yeah, there's lots of different strategies out here. James says Bitcoin is real profit. Bitcoin is real profit, but I can't go out and enjoy myself on a week on holiday out of my Bitcoin. We need to take profits at some point and enjoy the day. You're not in your 20s forever. Let's see what else is going on in the news, though. Let's get onto the news here today. So Bitcoin ETFs have broken a trend here, and we have actually seen the net movements go to inflows for the first time after 5 days of seeing net outflows. This happened yesterday, so we did see 15.7, and I don't know what unit this is in. Does anyone know what unit this is in for the Bitcoin inflows here? 15.7 is just the number that we've got here. No explanation. $1 million. $1 million? I believe it is. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So the event paused 5 consecutive days of net outflows and presented the second smallest day of inflows recorded. Despite this positive shift, the larger narrative remained outshadowed by the substantial outflows for GBTC, which amounted to $350 million, or almost 5,000 Bitcoin. Consequently, GBTC's cumulative outflows have reached $14.15 billion, equivalent to 275,000 Bitcoin. So huge shifts there. But we are seeing progress. We're seeing, look, Bitcoin ETF investors have actually been buying the dip. We have seen a considerable amount of inflows during the last 5 days. It's just that Grayscale have been having a huge amount of outflows throughout those days as well. But we are back into profit here. Maybe one of the smallest days of net inflows so far since the 11th of January, but it's still a net positive, and that's what we need to be looking at, especially during these kinds of bearish periods. Let's take a look at what else is going on here in the crypto news. I was sinking into my chair completely, and it's very squeaky here. I don't know what's going on. But please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's take a look at how many likes we've got on today's stream. We've got 16 likes on today's stream and 20 people watching on YouTube and hundreds of people watching on Twitter. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's take a look at what is going on in this article here. So here's why Goldman Sachs clients are getting more active in crypto. Now, the first one obviously is those Bitcoin ETFs. We saw a lot of excitement during the previous cycle, and now we're seeing that excitement head back into the markets again off the back of these ETFs, which is brilliant to see. Let's carry on through here. Grayscale executive sees path to Ethereum ETF approval despite SEC light silence. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about. James says, but I did buy 5 pairs of socks for 4 Bitcoin some years ago. That is painful, James. That is painful. Let's take a look at what's going on in this article. Anyway, so Ethereum ETFs. We've already had Bitcoin ETFs. These are products where people can invest into a crypto without having to buy the underlying asset. They can get exposure to the price through investing in these ETFs. We've already seen the Bitcoin ETFs. The process for getting an ETF approved is that ETF issuers need to create a filing and then submit that to the SEC, who is a regulator in the US, and then the SEC need to decide whether those products can go live. Now, we have a final deadline for an Ethereum ETF decision from the SEC on the 23rd of May. Originally, analysts were saying there's about a 50% chance that these ETFs will go live, and now it's come down to 35. And the reason for that reduction in expectation is because the Ethereum ETF issuers and the SEC haven't really been seemingly having many discussions in the run-up between the Bitcoin ETFs being approved and them going live. The SEC and the Bitcoin ETF issuers were having meetings, the filings were being amended, and the ETF issuers were trying to get those filings exactly how the SEC wanted them so that they could get approved and their products could launch. But for the Ethereum ETFs, this has not happened. So we've not really seen much activity between the Ethereum ETF issuers and the SEC. Now we are seeing, though, but maybe we should be a little bit more positive about this. Let me have a quick sip of my coffee here. James says not painful, very comfortable actually. I would have given you 10 pairs for 2 Bitcoin. You got ripped off. I'll give you 10 pairs of socks for 2 Bitcoin right now. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Grayscale CLO has been a little bit more positive about these Ethereum ETFs than analysts have been recently. So let's take a look at this. Why the SEC could approve Ethereum ETFs after all. So according to him, during the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs, with him being the CLO of Grayscale, the financial regulator worked out key issues including creation and redemption processes, cash versus in-kind transactions, and custody concerns. He pointed out that these solutions apply to Ethereum due to its similarities with Bitcoin. He remarked all these issues were figured out and are identical when comparing spot Bitcoin to Ethereum ETFs. The only difference is rather than the ETF holding Bitcoin, it holds Ether. So in many ways, the SEC already has engaged and issuers simply have less to engage on this time. So essentially what was happening in the run-up to the Bitcoin ETFs was there needed to be discussions about how the ETFs would work, because an ETF is a product that's the value of it is pegged to the underlying asset, with that underlying asset being Bitcoin. Now, there are 2 ways that you can build an ETF product. You can have a cash redemption model where essentially you can switch from cash to the ETF and from the ETF to cash, but you cannot swap from the ETF to the underlying asset. And then you have the alternative where you can switch between the underlying asset and the ETF, and that's called the in-kind model. Now, originally, a lot of the Bitcoin ETFs were the in-kind model. After conversations with the SEC and the regulators, the issuers switched to the cash redemption model. And this analyst is saying, look, the reason we're not seeing activity now on the run-up to the Ethereum ETF acceptance or deadline is because we've already had these conversations. We know how the SEC likes it. So just because we're not seeing that same activity doesn't mean they're less likely to go live, because we just don't need to have those conversations again. And that's definitely a possibility here. If we carry on through this article, we can see that he reiterates the arguments made. Somebody else reiterates the remarks made. He says, investors want and deserve access to Ethereum in the form of a spot Ethereum ETF, and Grayscale believes the case is just as strong as it was for spot Bitcoin ETFs. Now, this is exactly what we'd like to see altcoin season get triggered and see some high caps coins moving significantly to the upside. The financial regulator has postponed the approval process for several issuers, prompting skepticism among market analysts. These delays, coupled with the minimal regulatory activity surrounding the applications, have dampened community optimism about the prospects of an Ethereum ETF. But so far, we are still waiting for the 23rd of May. And if these Ethereum ETFs get approved, we could see a massive shift in the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. Now, What happened with the Bitcoin ETFs was there was a huge run to the upside prior to the ETFs getting accepted, because we all knew, and there was a high probability that Bitcoin ETFs were going to get accepted. And then when they finally did, there was a small dump, and then there was a small pump, and there was a bit of volatility, but we didn't really see price action in either direction. With the Ethereum ETFs, we do not have that same certainty on the run up, so we're not really seeing that pre-ETF pump that we saw with Bitcoin. We are seeing a pump, but this is off the back of Bitcoin performing well. This isn't in ETF anticipation, and that's what the Bitcoin pump was. So I believe if Ethereum ETFs continue to have these doubts until the 23rd of May, if they do actually go live on that date, we could see a significant move to the upside on this one, which would be the opposite to what happened with Bitcoin. And that's because we went into the Bitcoin ETF acceptance with quite a lot of certainty. And with this one, we're going in with quite a lot of doubt. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But I think we're in for an interesting ride. We've got 2 months to go until the ETF decision from the SEC, unless they make a decision sooner, which they are allowed to do so. But I very much doubt that. Let's take a look at what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news, though. How long have we been on this stream for? We've been on this stream for 38 minutes, and we're only on the second article. So let's speed this up a little bit, and I'm sure you've all got a lot to do. We've got 460 people watching on Twitter right now and 20 people watching on YouTube, so please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. James says, and I bought a car for 7 ETH I got for next to nothing. The socks were over a decade ago. In a decade, those here with 0.1 Bitcoin will be holding 100k of Bitcoin, but what will a dollar buy you? Well, there we go. You've been in this game for a long time. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. So we've got let's move on to the next one here. We've got base fees spike to pre-Denkin levels. So Denkin was the upgrade made to the Ethereum blockchain just 2 weeks ago. And this meant that layer 2s on the Ethereum blockchain could pay lower. It was an attempt to lower the transaction fees there. So it was a scalability upgrade. It did not decrease the transaction fees for the Ethereum blockchain itself, but for layer 2s on it. So you have Ethereum and then you have layer 2. What's happened here is layer 2s saw a significant reduction in their transaction fees for a period of time. We saw base transaction fees, which is a layer 2 built by Coinbase, have their transaction fees drop from around $2 to around 1 cent. But that hasn't seemed to last, and we have seen some volatility here. So at the time of writing, Base's normal speed fee was 0.05, so 5 cents, with fast rising to 17 cents. And we've seen some similarities here with Optimism. This was $0.0012 for normal and $0.008 for fast, and Arbitrum the same. Until Base's network fees stabilize or the team can resolve the consistent fees, Optimism and Arbitrum offer a better experience for those seeking almost zero fees. So we can see on this chart that a lot of them had higher transaction fees, and these were reduced massively off the back of the Denkin upgrade. But Base has started to go a little bit wild and see a huge amount of volatility there. But hopefully this calms down again within the next couple of weeks, because it was gaining a lot of traction and we were seeing transaction volumes increase dramatically on the Base layer 2 network. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. I'm not letting my coffee go cold today. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. So Solana records highest ever monthly DEX volume. Solana has witnessed a surge in traffic throughout March. Solana has recorded its highest ever month for DEX volume, with 1 week still to be traded in March. Solana has witnessed a surge in DEX traffic due to the meme coin frenzy that has taken over the chain. We've all seen a huge amount of projects launching on the Solana network. We've seen a huge amount of meme coins launching on the Solana network, and we've seen the meme coin sector have a little bit of a frenzy. So with that, transaction volumes have been high, and Solana has gained a huge amount of momentum off the back of that. The Forced Miner says we're drinking coffee together. We definitely are drinking coffee together. Cheers to our coffee. It's not even the morning anymore. This is my first coffee of the day. Everything's been pushed back because I got my head on some work this morning and I was just zoned in. So we're a little bit delayed today, but we've still got the stream in. We are going to have Thursday's stream is going to be earlier than usual. So we'll probably do that at around, I don't want to put a time on it now. I want to say about 8 or 9 in the morning, that UK time. That's when we'll do the stream. Paul Thomas says, if you have a low cost average, is it still wise to dollar cost average out? I choose to dollar cost average out because I want to take profits into pounds at the end of this cycle, or into dollars or whatever. I obviously I am a Bitcoin bull for the long term. I would like to invest in Bitcoin and hold on to some Bitcoin, but I would also like to have the opportunity to take profits so that I can dollar cost average in, because I believe that we will see another bear market. I choose to dollar cost average out of projects in a bull market because I know that I'm not going to be able to time the top. And I don't think anybody is able to time the top. And if you do, I believe you're incredibly lucky. I don't think that can come down to skill at the end of the day. So I dollar cost average out because that makes me less emotional when it comes to my decision making. It means that I'm not fully in the market one day and fully out the market the next. I can dollar cost average out over time, and I can reap some rewards if the markets continue higher, which they probably will do so. But I can take some nice profits along the way, because essentially when I start to dollar cost average out, I'm not going to be hoping that the markets hit a top. I'm going to be hoping that we continue to move to the upside and can continue to reap some profits. And then eventually, after I've taken out as much profit as I want, that will be around the time where I start to believe that the top could be in any time now. Usually that's when we see some stupidly high pumps, but eventually things will start to calm down. I mean, I do believe that Bitcoin is on its way to find its fair market value, and I believe that is much higher than where it is now. But I think we're in a process, and I do believe that we will see a bull market, a bear market, a bull market, and I want to be taking profits here so I can enjoy myself, live my life, and hopefully have something to invest in during the bear market once again, and continue to take advantage of the cycles there. Let's take a look at what else is going on here in the news. So we've got Binance to terminate support for USDC on Tron. So Binance wants to delist TRC20 USDC amid Circle's plan to remove Tron as a supported network. So that makes sense there. What else have we got here? Node Monks flip Bored Ape Yacht Club to become second highest value collection. The Bitcoin Ordinals collection has moved up the rankings compared to the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs. So we're seeing some competition there between the original NFT collections and the Bitcoin Ordinals, but there's been a lot of hype around those within the last couple of weeks or months, or maybe even year at this point. What else have we got here? We are seeing Elon Musk question why Vitalik has left X. He said Vitalik needs to get back this is Autism Capital first of all. Vitalik needs to get back on Twitter. Farcaster isn't going to win the culture war. If he wants Ethereum to shine, he should engage more on this platform, not sequester himself with his chosen peers on an island. He will have far more impact if he engages the bigger community here. Why did he leave? Elon Musk has said. In fact, let's pull up the tweets itself. Let's pull up the tweet themselves. So we can see here. Elon Musk has replied. Has Elon Musk deleted his reply? Here we go. He said, why did he leave? And the response is, as we understand it, he ultimately felt that the quality of discourse on Farcaster was higher for his needs. Vitalik wants to just have discussions with his chosen peers, ETH devs, system builders, app builders, and they felt Farcaster was a sequestered place that they could do that without engaging with the riffraff. He felt there were too many trolls and spam bots and lower quality people, which he viewed as noise and distraction. Lower quality people, what a term to be using in a tweet there. We disagree with him on this, but conversations to be had there. I do believe that, look, if you want to engage your community, you need to be on social media platforms. But at the same time, Ethereum is so big now. Vitalik is part of the Ethereum Foundation, working on upgrades, working on making it the best platform out there. And there is a lot to sift through on Twitter from time to time. I wouldn't go as far as saying there's lower quality people. That's an interesting statement. But I understand that we need to sometimes focus our goals a little bit. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. So pre-market trading sees 4% increase with MicroStrategy closing in on the $2,000 threshold. And in terms of another crypto-related stock, we have Coin, which is Coinbase's stock, breaking its $300 resistance and could open the door to a new all-time high. So performing incredibly well there as well. So that's all the news we've got for today. I want to check through the Bitcoin price though and see what's going on here. BTC USDT. Let's once in my life I'll type that correctly. What we've got here is we are moving to the upside. We are hitting maybe a slight bit of resistance on the smaller time frames, but do you know what? Nothing too much to be concerned about at this point in time. We've seen considerable moves to the upside. We need to wait and see. The American markets open in an hour. do they open now? I will never remember this. Every single day I search it's this. Rob says market's just about to open. So the markets are opening now, and then it will go back to 2:30 p.m. UK time next week when the UK clocks change this weekend. Very confusing. Let's take a look. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Matthew B says Jess is the best and will keep us updated with the latest news. Thank you very much, Matthew B. But please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. Matthew B is right. Let's take a look at what's going on with some altcoins here as well before we close off today's stream. What we've got here is Solana is having a small pullback on the 4-hour chart, but still performing incredibly nicely. Had a little bit of a breather when Bitcoin did, but it's had a significant move to the upside since then. If we take a look at Ethereum, this has been performing incredibly well as well. This could be a double bottom here if we get... Where's my pen gone? Here we go. A double bottom here in a sense, and we could be seeing a W here. In fact, let's remove all of those silly lines and let's do some proper drawings here, like a proper professional, and see here that we could have had a little bit of a level of resistance here that we've broken through, and therefore we could be in for some nice higher prices as well. So definitely something to be keeping an eye on there. But overall, Ethereum is not outperforming Bitcoin at this point in time. I'm really struggling on this chart, but maybe within the next couple of months we will see some action, and hopefully Grayscale are right in saying that, look, we don't need to see too much activity between the Ethereum ETF issuers and the SEC. These products are still likely. That's the optimism we need in our portfolios here. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button. And let's still be positive about what could come with these Ethereum ETFs. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all back here tomorrow. Goodbye.